Well, 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 friends, we've returned once again. This is Shipbreakers, Stars Without Numbers Revised Adventure, Episode 13. We are joining the crew of the LAS Golden Goose as they finally, and I swear it will happen this episode, scrap and salvage their way across the Cress Wayside sector. Can they stay one step ahead of their debt? I don't know. We'll see. Should be noted that today I got 2 vaccine shots, so I honestly feel awful. And not all of the cast is at 100% today, but we're here. We're doing this. We're the Iron Man 2 introduction to Rhodey. Any announcements before we get started here? Let's talk about goals then.
Everyone must survive.
Okay. Get everyone through the salvaging job. Sure. Van-Vee?
This is the moment.
I'm thinking, given the message I got last time, I actually want to change mine because it just has to be something we can work towards.
Mm-hmm.
I want to figure out what exactly it is y'all has been trying to protect me from or doesn't want me to see or expose me to.
Mm-hmm. Okay, got that. Interesting. MINERVA Hasta.
I think my long-term goal is going to stay the same.
Sure.
My short-term goal is to evaluate myself as a security risk.
Ooh.
Can you do that? I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll see how hard that is or isn't.
Crew goal is break a ship.
Yes.
I totally forgot we could change long-term goals. You just had me like, what if I change my long-term goal now, right before?
That would truly be unhinged and insane.
I don't want 18 experience.
I don't need that. I'm good.
Unbelievable.
I got everything I need already.
We start with a familiar looking woman. She's wearing a general's uniform. She's got a cigar in her right hand that's lit and smoking, and a glass of some sort of amberish alcohol in the left. Feet are on a Spartan-looking stainless steel, sharp-edged desk with a little holographic report on it. As she's looking at it, she's just like reading parts of it out loud. And, she says something like, interesting. An ambassador from Leda with the government. Good. She reaches forward with the cigar hand and presses a red button on the desk. And a sergeant walks in, pretty young man. He's got sharply trimmed beard, and he says, "Yes, ma'am, it's about the intelligence report." And he says, "Yes, Sergeant, it is. I'm going to need you to start a file on this Quentin Alexander Polk IV. I'm very interested in what's going on with him. Next time news files in, make sure it's sent to me priority. He's last spotted on Midapile?" He says, "Yes, ma'am. Looks like, from what we can get from local sources, he's involved with the government somehow. Picking up a retired government employee. The previous member of his crew is the son of a tycoon and a politician." She says, Good. Mark him down as a potential client. We may find a way to force him to need our services. The Devil's boys are always looking for new work." "Good work, Sergeant. You earned yourself a weekend pass." So he just nods and says, "Thank you, ma'am. Hoorah." We cut to 2 ships slowly passing over a planet. next to each other. There is the ever familiar silhouette, the length, sort of blockiness with just a little bit of curves to it of the Golden Goose. It's immensely wide forward glass cockpit, the salvaging arm that goes directly over the whole length of the ship, and then hangs just above the cockpit so that you need to do salvaging work, you can see out the front. But there's no one currently in that cockpit. Instead, we're following three figures that have left an airlock and are making their way over to another ship. The darkness is split on this side of the planet only by one flickering and one solid beam of light coming from the ship they're approaching, and three of their salvaging work lights pointed directly at what could be a working airlock on board the Glory of Kalanam. As the three of them approach, they get close enough that they can see Glory of Kalanam has been painted next to the airlock, but in much larger letters in battleship block lettering, it does say aura on the side of it as well. This ship has easily lost a quarter of its mass. It looks like whatever happened here caused the primary boarding ramp and airlock to just blow out into space, and it has left something. It's almost as if some creature took a single claw, hooked itself into the ship, and then ripped the back section of it out. Just looking on approach, as a salvaging crew, you are definitely sure that this does not have a spike drive. That part of the engineering is open to space, and where the spike drive should be is no longer present on this ship. Behind it, dangerously for you, Quentin, you can see it has a debris trail that is moving at the same speed as the ship, or just ever so slightly slower. But it makes you very nervous to be traveling even just a few meters of open space between two ships, knowing that there is a debris trail behind you.
Yeah, sweat pops out on the brow. He's looking a little clammy.
I am curious if you are in a spacesuit or if you are using your power to sheathe yourself to just float over in your regular clothes.
Yeah, it's really a big question of whether he feels like advertising that could be a little bit too much. So I think for the first meeting, for sure, he's going to sort of keep that card a little closer to his chest and wear the suit.
The three of you approach on small jets of gas, two headlamps, getting closer to this airlock. It is clear that this is it's hard to call it custom fitted job. Let's call it hastily erected into the side of the ship as a new way to get on and off of it. Certainly, it is not the standard mandate issue docking collar that one would expect of almost any ship. To begin with, the Aura is part of the spiritual class cruiser series. It's quite old. It's easily 100 years old. These classifications of ships have been retired for longer than the humans here have been alive. Essentially, it's a museum piece of the first warships after the Rising started. That said, the airlock does close the door behind you and appear to work oxygen, nitrogen, and other trace gases into the space around you. There is no decontamination procedure in here, though, curiously enough. There doesn't appear to be the equipment necessary to do it. No foam launchers, bactericide, fungicide, heat lamps, UV, none of that is present here. It just cycles air. Do you take off your helmets and suit and head inside? Or what do the three of you want to do now that you're in a technically breathable atmosphere?
Well, Quentin will first knock on the sort of exterior a little bit and say, what do you think? Structurally sound?
Van-Vee kicks it pretty hard.
Okay. Are you actually checking to see how structurally sound this airlock is?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Anyone that wants to can make a mechanics intelligence roll. I hope this is working because I didn't set it up.
What is mechanics?
Fix good.
Oh yeah, fix.
Okay.
Addition
Intelligence?
dancing.
Oh yeah, I got
you know
this.
I can do that.
A 3.
That's terrible.
I
Wow.
mean, people seem concerned and looking around. So
Luckily,
I guess
I
I
went
will
and asked.
also look around.
It looks good.
Quentin, I need you to
my
make
roll?
a mental saving throw.
Okay.
A mental saving throw for kicking a ship.
It's
You're
panicking over the idea of maybe dying in another ship.
You start sweating heavily. You can feel your heart rate coming up as you look around. You're like, this is bad. Like, I've been in a ship that was decompressing before. But you look around. Van-Vee and MINERVA are totally fine.
They are, but Van-Vee does feel sort of like a tingling sensation on his like skin as essentially the pressure field that Quentin has access to is immediately activated, though.
Okay.
And he can extend that up to something like up to 6 other people, I think. I'd have to double check, but
Cap,
are you
is
like-
this you? Are you doing this?
yeah, that just precaution. It's, just a little extra protection between you and the vacuum of space in case this thing doesn't hold up.
So you've got like you're protect. Oh, if you're protecting me, I just take my helmet right off. Boop.
We'll pop it up.
Minerva will
Van-Vee,
just quietly put a hand on Quentin's shoulder and give it a squeeze to try to be comforting, but doesn't say anything.
I'm going to give the two of you, because you rolled so well, I'm going to give you an assessment of the whole ship. So this airlock, absolutely not a docking port. However, it is quite clever in its design. It appears to have been made hastily using scraps of this ship. But it is solidly machined, right? Like, it's like looking at someone working on a car from the 80s. You know what I mean? Like, they don't make the parts for this thing anymore. You have to work with what you've got, and someone with a good understanding of machining and workmanship put this thing together in a time of need. It's a little slapdash, but it'll hold. The rest of the ship is powered. So while the spike drive isn't on, it must have some measure of, you're not sure if it's a fusion power plant. I mean, given the fact that one of the lights outside was dying, maybe not fusion, or maybe it was just the light. The spiritual class cruisers, some of them did get fusion drives instead of just fission, like uranium drives. It could be a pretty nice power plant. If it's a fission drive, it's not going to be very powerful and it's going to be dirty. That said, air supply seems to be working well. Life support. Just your general look over the ship is that, a lot of weapons and a whole lot of armor and electronics were lost, like sensors, communications. The majority of the rest of the ship is intact and usable.
Can we tell how long ago it appears this was hastily thrown together?
Probably, I mean, things don't really decay in space, right? Like, there's no rusting or anything like that, or it's different. Maybe 6 months, maybe several years ago. I mean, you do know that the Kalanon restoration happened within the last year, so that's not too surprising.
Fair. Yeah. Okay.
The climax of the cyber communist government was taking this ship. So
Perhaps Van-Vee, we should see what they wish to use for quarantine procedures before we remove our suits. In case they wish for us to stay isolated in the suits for their protection, or vice versa.
I guess that that's fair. I was just trying to show Captain support that I trust he's got my back. But I'll put this back on.
You know, you get a little thing on the faceplate that says "Seal connected."
And I imagine the goes around me, but I don't actually feel it because of the force field.
It could be just like the Mandalorian, you know, where all you have to do is tuck your hair in and you're good.
Somehow it works.
Sealed. It's back to gel or something. I don't know.
Of course.
They have infinite back to gel to just continually deploy.
Star Wars bullshit terms. Yeah, I got it.
So I guess no time like the present.
Do we see like a radio interface or a comm interface to try to?
Yeah.
No.
Open this here door.
Okay. You
Quentin
open
will
the
just
inner
go for
airlock.
it. Yeah.
There is on the far side, just stark, solid corridors. It's cramped in here. Your ship is not exactly a luxury cruiser like the ferry. It's quite nice compared to this. The doors are very small, you know, like World War II U.S. Navy destroyer small. Like you have to tog open hatches to individual doors. That said, several of them have been left open, and there is like taped to the wall is like welcome party from LAS Golden Goose this way with an arrow on it in Comic Sans font.
Oh, that's the part that just did it.
Like IBM printer holes on the side of it. Yeah. All right. Perfect.
It's actually printed in a dot matrix for the text.
We start clumping our way in that direction.
We just lost the Zoomers. They have no idea what we're saying.
You can see the where the tear wasn't good on the bottom to rip the pages apart.
Oh yeah, and it gets that like jagged,
perforated edge.
Boy, we've lived through some stuff, haven't we, guys?
Some welcoming committee, Cap. They don't even have a person here to assign us where to go. I guess maybe I'm just used to the ferry having rotating several people to direct us at all times.
Yeah, these folks I don't think have a whole lot in the way of resources. At least, in terms of the high-tech ones anyway. So
I guess this may give us some insight into the nature of the job we're performing here.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting budget.
Well, given some of the things that I've noticed just on the way in, it's possible that the salvage job that we're doing is to help restore this ship.
It could definitely use some parts, that's for sure.
Given the condition that it's in, I imagine a full crew would be a large and risky draw of resources at this time.
No doubt.
It does seem that the crew that they do have is quite talented.
Mm-hmm.
At least as far as their damage control and maintenance and engineering.
Yeah, they
so I guess know how to see why they need us.
Well, we can enter an atmosphere. The ship is a little large for that.
That's true. This thing's crashed. Maybe. Destroyed for sure in some fashion. This was certainly not a peaceful uprising, to my understanding. So,
what do you think did that damage on the outside? On the way in, it looked like something just tore right through the ship.
Can I make either is there some kind of roll that I can make to try to identify like a weapon type that could cause that type of damage?
I mean, I think that probably you would not need to make a roll. You have some sort of military history. Two of you already made pretty good fix rolls. There was a internal explosion in the airlock where the proper docking collar should have been while the ship was underway.
That's a problem.
Perhaps decompression.
Perhaps sabotage, aborting action. There's a number of ways to cause that, I suppose.
Well, hopefully there are no more surprises on the inside as we keep going.
Well, perhaps we should meet our hosts. Maybe they can enlighten us to some of this.
You arrive at a second airlock door. This one, the outer door, the one facing towards you, is open, and the inside has a hastily jury-rigged quarantining procedure.
I think, just of a random note, I know they left doors and signs for us to get here, but MINERVA would have closed the hatches behind us on the way.
A wise precaution.
Yeah.
Smart.
Van-Vee's overly confident because he's got the captain's force fielder on him. So he's ignoring all normal threats.
Yeah, Quentin is still sweating. He's paler than normal, and not shaky or anything, but definitely he's on alert. He's got that adrenaline spike, you can tell.
With these suits, can we like see each other very easily? Like, can we tell Quentin's condition, or is he just like, do we just see like a face and you can't tell very much?
I think you can see his face for sure. And if you wanted to, you could be monitoring each other's medical condition.
Right. Okay. Heart rate.
We know someone's doing that.
It's for your own safety.
Of course. Mission control.
You enter into the airlock and undergo the procedure. It takes a little bit longer than normal. There's no voice at the end to tell you what to do automatically, but you do hear a voice crackle over a speaker that says, "Gentlemen, lady, we are waiting for you in the conference room in the next room. Feel free to prepare yourselves before you enter." And then you hear the sound of, the transmit button being pulled off.
Broadcast stopping.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any? Well, actually, before I ask this, when you said their quarantine procedure, is that like the check and make sure you're fine, or is this a decontamination?
It's decontamination. They're foaming you down. They're UV light, heat blast.
Okay, cool. Never mind then.
Yep.
Well, Cap, you want me to go first?
Sure, why not?
All right.
Well, Captain, I suppose it's your determination. Should we?
The door's open in front of you, Van-Vee.
Suit.
Yeah. Quentin would pop the suit, right? Like at that point.
So Van-Vee opens the door. You guys are de-suiting in the process. Just this is not a toggable door, like the ones that opens up. This is just like a door, slightly more advanced. Definitely a modern thing. It opens directly into a conference room with a round table, around which is sitting the familiar-looking form of Acolyte Yamin Grost, who is the Acolyte of the Exchange of Light, who you spoke with previously. And then 3 Russian men and a Russian woman who are all standing. They all are wearing military uniforms and have hats underneath the crook of their right elbow and are ceremoniously waiting for you to enter. So again, it's just Van-Vee opens the door while the two of you are getting undressed into your regular clothes.
And Quentin awkwardly hops on one leg and
I think once Van-Vee realizes the seriousness, like they're all like in proper dress, proper attire with hat under, he probably tries to straighten up as best he can, but he's still like in a suit with the helmet off walking through the door.
Feel free to take time to make yourself comfortable. We are ready for you when you are ready.
All right, what 1 second, sorry. And he'll step back in and quickly try to get the suit off. Sorry about that. I didn't know you meant like literally conference room was literally on the side of the door. That's my bad.
Well, nice to meet y'all. Names, faces, how
yes.
y'all doing?
Who is the captain of your vessel?
Well, that's me, Quentin Alexander Polk IV. Nice to meet you.
Ambassador. One of them moves forward to shake your hand. I am leading these negotiations. I am Alexander Nikolaevna.
Oh, good name.
This is my my father, Nicholas Nikolaevna, and my brother, Andrei, and my son's wife, Yennefer.
Quentin shakes all their hands if they offer, of course.
They all have different rank insignias and appear to serve in different branches of the military. As you're getting your bearings around this room, it is essentially the sort of modern conference room, rectangular in shape, longer than it is wide. There aren't that many adornments and decorations because it's essentially a stainless steel box, but one wall has like a skyline that you assume must either be generic or possibly Kalanom. And on the other side, there's a single poster that says, "Join the Army Navy today." And then it has like a bunch of really strong Russian men and women all doing this pose, with their arm. They've got their wrist wrapped around their fists and are making it high towards the sky.
Mm-hmm.
It's very World War II recruiting poster.
For sure.
Minerva it has a read of the room, and whenever standing somewhere, we'll stand with heels together.
Mm-hmm.
Try to help with the professional image of our crew.
All of you, please sit down. We have prepared the traditional meal of Kalanam for you. He turns and like snaps twice, and through a door on the other side of the room, in comes a somewhat crude robot carrying a tray. He introduces you to several pieces of cuisine: kvass, soup, beef stroganoff, cabbage as an appetizer, uka, and caviar. And then at that point, Gross kind of steps in and says, so, as we are all coming together here, my purpose is regulatory in nature to ensure that the contract is carried out. The representatives from Kalanam have agreed not to interfere in the operations of your ship in any way. They will not try to cause any dissent against the captain or cause any mutinies, try to seize your ship. Are there any additional terms that you would like to bring up before we get started here, Mr. Polk?
Additional terms. Nothing specific that's coming to mind. Minerva, Van-Vee, anything that comes to mind for either of y'all?
I don't think so, Cap.
No, I think we're good to go with the basic, normal set of terms here.
So all four of them have sat down and have opened up a large plastic binder that has color-coded subsections. Each of them that is not Alexander appears to be man-to-man watching one of you and is flipping through the sections as you take actions and taking notes inside the binder.
Interesting. Bizarre.
Feel bad for whoever's doing Van-Vee.
Just to cover everything here, he pulls out like a little set of reading glasses and says, you have received 20,000 credits up front. This job is 20% the value of a salvaged cruiser. You will be traveling down on the planet of Palamedes in order to recover a frigate. The job says, sorry, there's and he's just like looking at the Kalanomian representatives, and Alexander speaks up and says, originally we thought it was a warship of the cruiser design, but the previous individuals we sent down to the planet, the last salvaging team indicated in their first and only message that it was a frigate. And Gross nods and says, okay, so it's a frigate. You have arrived to this job on time with the understanding that you will receive 20% of the value of this ship. That said, the Kalanomian Restoration is only asking for the fusion plant, any data that can be recovered from the ship, and the spike drive. Is that within the capabilities of your crew?
Fusion plant, spike drive, and data. Yeah, that's definitely things we can facilitate. You mentioned there was another crew that had gone down to the ship. Do we have data from them? They did not return? Is that what I'm surmising?
So Grost uses his tablet to like send you a file, and he says, yes, I was the regulator for that job as well. The team went down. Satellite imagery that the Exchange of Light satellite has recovered indicates that they have all frozen to death at the salvage site.
That is incredibly unfortunate and deeply disheartening.
What is the status of the transport they used to either get here or get down to the surface?
Great question.
They contracted a civilian vessel to land on Palamedes.
The vessel returned. They did not.
The vessel returned after dropping them off on the site.
Gotcha. Well, this is definitely pretty dangerous, and
just how cold is it down there? Do we know? Do you have readings?
Yes. So, actually, the history of this particular planet is extremely relevant to the exchange of light. It was the first planet to succeed in the Rising, and the cultural group that was first to rise did form the new exchange of light monkhood. Actually, my grandfather was a member of that expedition. If you'd like to know more, you could go back to the Colonel Station and go through a tour. I understand the first monk, the head of our order, often will, for guests of your level of status, Ambassador, personally walk you through the events of that day. That said,
has Quentin taken this tour out of curiosity?
I don't think you have. The last time you were here, you were either mostly drunk or in like a fugue state.
Totally.
So as you'll see here, Mount Zeus, the temperatures are definitely well below freezing. Technically, with wind chill, it can get to easily negative 100. There have been reports at higher altitudes that it gets cold enough to cause the separation of carbon dioxide from the air as it becomes liquid.
I'd like to reach back to the ship and have our survey scanner start just the whole area around the crash. Wildlife, plant life, get like a terrain map put together. I know that thing can get really detailed, so maybe any signs of the previous group, like maybe the camp they were using.
I'm going to tell you, this planet has atmospheric disturbances that will make this more difficult than normal. That said, let's make that roll now. I'll write down your result, and I will tell you later, because it will take some time to complete the scan. At least 30 minutes. And 10 is great. 10 is a great number. So Gross walks you through like the location. This ship, which they haven't been able to recover the hull number or the name of the ship, crashed. They're not sure when, but definitely it was after post-Scream. It crashed into near the top of Mount Zeus. It's high enough that Mount Zeus is visible from space. It's essentially like a big brother to the entire Himalayas range. Like Mount Zeus is essentially one enormous mountain with several sub-peaks coming off of it at various points.
Is other than the timing of the crash, is there any data on suspected reasons for the crash?
No.
Or is it too old for that?
They have no idea. So the ship is buried in ice. The previous salvage crew apparently worked its way down and managed to expose some part of the hull before they died. They did have to go through about 12 feet of ice to get down there. It should also be noted that at any given time, 20% of the planet of Palamedes is covered by a eternal winter blizzard. That's quite serious. The local residents are what we would call technology level 1. They live extremely low technology lives. Actually, one of the most important industries on the planet is quite close to your landing site. About 2 hours away, you will find Fishton. It is a oil refinery. So Palamedes, before the arrival of humans in Cress Wayside, actually had life on it, supporting it. It went through a sort of ecological disaster and froze before humans came to Cress Wayside. In the second wave colonizing era, because it had sources of liquid water and was previously habitable. It was chosen as a sort of Mecca exile land of honey site where terraforming technology and satellites were set up. Obviously, in the post-Scream, all of those were destroyed and the planet reverted to its previous state. But Fishton does maintain a chemical refinery. If you need any additional equipment, you may be able to get low-tech replacements there. The capital is on another continent on the other side of the planet. Not sure that any of that is relevant to you. Do you have
any... the landing site from the actual ship?
They were dropped off at the peak of Mount Zeus.
Okay. Minerva, where do you think, like, how close do you think we can actually get the Goose?
With my 10, how close do I think I can safely guide the ship in?
Knowing you have the best pilot in the galaxy.
Exactly.
You're going to have to settle into some thick snow and ice, but you can basically get, it's somewhat flat at the top.
Okay.
The peak does have some suitable areas. It will be a dangerous landing, but there is space.
All right, perfect. That's what I wanted to hear. That gives us a little bit room for error.
I propose we try to time our arrival with one of these storms, maybe just missing, and then we go in. I would hate to get the Goose hit by one of these storms while we're trying to do some salvaging.
Agreed. We should definitely take a look at the weather and try to get a prediction if we can. I don't know if the locals have anything set up. No, obviously they don't.
I imagine Minerva's already figured out an algorithm of predicting its trends.
Of course. And would Quentin know if the terms of this salvage deal are relatively appropriate given the danger that's been explained at this point?
If it was the original deal at 10%, it might have been a little sparse, but because chat voted for it, it's 20%.
Right.
20% of a mandate era frigate is pretty generous, especially when you don't need to bring the ship and its hull up. You just need to bring certain parts out of it.
Cool.
And implied is anything else we find that is cool, we keep. We don't have to hand over.
Yeah, right. They're not asking for it, so essentially.
Yeah, at this point, Gross spins off into a discussion on why Kalanon is technically able to claim Palamedes. He's just like, we informed what passes for a government of Palamedes that Kalanon had laid a claim to it. They declined to respond to that claim. No other government has challenged it in the last 8 months, so technically Palamedes is under Kalanomian control from a legal standpoint. You can tell that Gross hates this.
The absence of response.
Yeah, this is the stick. Well, it's not just the absence of response. It's that the Kalanomians are basically invading somebody else's world.
Right.
And it's just
a group of people who live at Tech 1.
Yeah, they don't have
do they
radios.
even know that they can respond?
Yeah, exactly.
How did you send your message? With a smoke signal, or?
We sent a dropship down with a representative.
That spoke none of the languages the locals do.
Well, that's a question.
We're the exchange of light. We speak every language.
Oh, I thought the Kalanomians sent the message down.
No, we sent the message down informing them that they had been claimed.
It is what it is, right? Y'all did your due diligence. Minerva, what's that?
If you were able to communicate, then might I inquire what language they speak?
They speak Mandate.
Excellent.
Primarily. Also, my cultural group, more or less, came off planet, spoke English and also Swedish. The rest of the planet mostly speaks Mandate.
Okay.
Well, Acolyte, is there anything we can do for you while we're down there?
I guess Minerva would respond in Swedish then and say, then we shouldn't have any language issues should we interact with the locals.
You could tell that Grost maybe doesn't regularly speak Swedish and just kind of yeah. So at this point, Alexander leans forward and says, You seem to be on the track. There are no problems with this agreement so far, Mr. Alexander?
No, I think the terms as laid out do sound reasonable. Do you have anything that you'd like to clarify with us on this end?
We have come to the understanding, based on recently arrived records, that at least one member of your crew is a relatively accomplished mechanic who previously designed his own vessels. Aquatic in nature, but well put together. On the business.
I can't help but smile.
We would like to offer an additional rider onto this contract to have you install fusion drive, spike drive onto this vessel. The glory to Kalanam.
This one? The one on right now?
Yes, glory of Kalanam. Yes. You recover the parts and install them in this vessel.
The cruiser here has a intact workshop?
It does not. We are authorized to pay additional 500,000 credits if you agree to do this.
What would be like the
Do I have any idea how long that
actual
would
man
take?
hours involved with
Yeah.
something like that?
I mean, you'd really want to drag this thing to a dry dock somewhere, like a space station. You have a salvaging vessel, so you could technically do it. It would be difficult. The bigger issue is going to be using a frigate drive, spike drive, on a cruiser-sized vessel.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to do a lot of rewiring. Now, they've lost a lot of weapons, electronics, and other things, but, you know, like, they haven't asked you to install a new communications and sensor system. They just want to be able to turn the engines on and go somewhere.
Right.
You know, Cap, maybe, I don't know what our schedule allows, but I think MINERVA and I could at least come up with a plan to help guide them on what next steps might be. But we could perhaps
perhaps we would be better.
Several weeks would be
Several
required
weeks.
to
Okay,
lay this
weeks
vessel in.
is-
Yeah.
Perhaps we would be better
different than
able
months,
to
at
answer the
least.
question if we toured the power plant and the former spike drive mountings on this ship. And when we go down, we can examine the hardware down there and determine compatibility.
Understood.
Yeah, definitely.
You should resume putting on your exterior hard suit clothing. Our technical officer, my son's wife, Yennefer, will lead you to the engineering section and explain what we know. You see that they are all still flipping through these plastic binders, and your request to do this appears to have been part of a pre-written plan.
Interesting. Oh, that's right. This is they have like the authority that nobody's met, right?
Yes. Yep.
That's oh my god, they literally have like call center scripts.
Yes.
For
Yeah.
how to
That's what you're
respond
thinking.
to us.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
my keyboard's not working. What do I do? Step one.
No, that was Minerva's input. It's a lot of money and it's certainly time, but we can't really answer that until we take a look at the scope of the work.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's worth getting sort of the engineering list where, if nothing else, maybe it helps us decide what spare parts you might need to actually get the job done that we can pull out of the ship while we're down there. Definitely take the look. If we can do it, we'll do it. I think it's worth the price and the time, but
I think Van-Vee had two thoughts of, maybe we discuss this after Yennefer tours us around, but
Okay.
I have two thoughts on it.
So Alexander, Nicholas, and Andre basically take whatever you haven't eaten from the lunch cart and begin chowing down, while Yennefer gets herself into a much less technologically impressive suit than what the three of you are wearing, and gestures for you to join her out the second door.
Did they not eat at all while we were in there with them?
I think that they had a little bit to eat, but they're in full dress uniform, and we're letting the guests get the good stuff.
Got it. I was gonna say if they didn't touch the food at all, I think that would have been a bit suspicious.
There were no alarms on that particular. They grabbed dishes at relative randomness, and
gotcha.
They left things like the caviar to you and took things like the cabbage.
Right.
Well, I think Minerva would have politely sampled each of the dishes while everyone else was talking.
It's salty as shit, motherfucker. They use a huge amount of salt in their cooking.
Yeah, I mean, Minerva will suit up and move over to where Yennefer is, as indicated.
Okay.
Van-Vee gets one more bite of stroganoff and then goes.
So when you're in the working corridors of the ship, there are other people on board. The gravity has been lowered to 1/10, so everybody can float around at speed without slowing down. She takes you to the rear section and airlocks you to essentially the outside of the ship. Probably about half the engine cluster is intact. It looks like the top of the engineering deck is intact, and the bottom was just horribly ripped out. So spike drives normally go on the bottom of the deck, which is why that one's gone. The fusion plant looks like it is barely held in place. So, like, it was mounted by a series of brackets, and like 2 of the walls that brackets were attached to are gone now. So it's being held in place pretty loosely by a couple screws for a several ton fusion plant. The wiring looks pretty sketch. Honestly, like 20 creds of new wiring would probably solve several problems on this ship. Just for like from fusion plant to wall into some drive, but it would also require them to turn off power on the ship for a short while, which may not be an acceptable loss. There is most of a working life support system, and it looks, based on how things are wired together, that they have distributed other life support nodes within the ship. Otherwise, there's no way this thing would have worked. It's capable of keeping the ship warm. It's not capable of keeping it fully oxygenated by itself. That said, the rooms you've been in so far have been oxygenated, so you get the idea that they are simply not gambling. It's bad back here. I think, Van-Vee, that doing what they're asking you to do is possible. You've never done it before. It would be essentially converting a cruiser down to a frigate. It would be an extremely difficult role. That said, if you wanted to write up several hours of technical documentation about how they could do it, that's more within your wheelhouse. But even just the idea of getting the engines and power and spike drive working, I mean, without a communication system and a sensor system, you don't know where you're going or who's around you, right? Like, they have a plan that has not accounted for extremely basic space problems that are solved by being able to look around.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that Van-Vee's clocking is, like, he's kind of doing a walkthrough more to make notes on the steps on what to fix in what order, as opposed to how he would do it himself, but like how he could tell someone else, here are the big 3 problems. Here are the 10 steps you have to do in order to fix those 3 problems.
Yeah. Van-Vee is doing a home inspection right now.
Basically.
Do you involve Minerva with that at all?
Yeah, he'd probably be saying things out loud.
So we like bounce things off each other?
Yeah, you'd probably say, well, just to go with a simple example, right? For a few bucks, you can replace this wiring harness here. As long as you plan your downtime accordingly, well, shoot, that could fix a load of problems, right?
I am going to let you all know that the 2 of you succeeded, and specifically Minerva, you have previously been a warship. There either was or is, based on the technology you're looking at in the engineering bay, a gravity cannon mounted on this cruiser.
Oh shit!
Which means that this was one of the, late model, like Mark II spiritual classes. Its purpose is to pull a target apart, essentially, by ripping it apart from the inside.
The Hasta comes with grav cannon.
I think Van-Vee clocks notes on how maybe not to enable that part.
Well, I mean, do you? Yeah, I know MINERVA.
How, at least.
I know
you
MINERVA
know that
knows
there's
that.
a big weapon system that either is still mounted to the ship somewhere that you haven't seen, or it has the hardware and diagnostic equipment, the power runs, all needed to run it back here.
Yeah.
Jennifer, if I may, in order to ensure that we take all of the other components that will be necessary, I wish to get a better understanding of the intended power load requirements. So we make sure that everything can operate with the fusion reactor we're bringing up. Is there a plan for the restoration of communications and sensors?
I'm afraid that information is outside the parameters of this particular job. We have made the determination that the power plant on board the vessel will be enough to work in tandem with this current generator in order to get power working again at the level we require.
Understood. Would you be able to provide, instead of a specifics of what the power draws are, which I understand was information we are not privy to, but perhaps a projected total power load, so we can ensure that if there's any other components we need to salvage from below, we can make sure that it can handle the stress
I will
of connecting
pass
to
your
your power grid.
message to Central Authority. They may provide you with an answer. It could take some time.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I expect that it would be best for you to begin your work before waiting for such an answer.
Of course. It will take us some time on the surface.
Is there anything else you need to see back here?
Just
I think
to
between
check. Go ahead, sorry.
I think between the two of us bouncing off each other, I think we've basically put together, like, if we were here, what would be our damage control priorities in order to be able to leave?
Were there any other, I think Van-Vee specifically now, after being on the ships we've been on recently, any other really odd additions, like say something like the AI enhancement suite or whatever the hell it's called?
What a great question. In fact, you do see that they are covertly laying in equipment needed to support a intelligence, but not the level to run a true AI intelligence.
Okay, VI type.
They have crudely attempted to hide this. Not necessarily from you. You're not really sure who they're trying to hide it from. But yeah, this engineering section, specifically around the power plant, they are laying in such work. I will say this as well. It's curious to you that they're asking for a second power plant when they appear to have one working power plant already.
I did clock that.
That is unusual.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you clocked it, but I just wanted to make sure the audience also caught that as well.
I have no idea what they would do with it, but it was going to bring it to MINERVA.
They obviously have extra needs, you know?
I mean, and aside from the fact that there's some basic, like, cabling and infrastructure issues and the sketchy mounting and all, the fusion reactor itself looks to be in decent working condition.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
At this point, Yennefer says, we have 20 seconds until sunrise.
I have nothing further to accomplish here, sir. Perhaps we should move.
What happens at sunrise?
That's Mosey.
Just the thermal shock of the sun coming over the hull.
Ah, yeah, God's flashlight. I gotcha.
Your whole headsets will polarize, I believe. Just wanted to make sure that you were... And like, as she's saying this, you know, you just suddenly... The shadow of the Golden Goose is like in the engineering section. Because you're going side by side and the Golden Goose is on the outside. You see like the fire of the sun outlining the Golden Goose, blocking your vision. And it looks like for the next several minutes at least, you will, be in that configuration. Your suits immediately polarize your head thing and indicate that like external temperature rising.
I think Van-Vee's trying in his head. He's like, Kodak moment, getting the perfect silhouette of the Golden Goose.
For sure.
Unless you have anything else to see, Van-Vee, I believe I have seen what I intended to for my recommendations.
Yeah, I think we can. I don't know if we can actually do the job ourselves, but we can certainly write you up a recipe on how to get her done.
I will consult with the authority. We will certainly take such a recipe from you. What recompense do you require for such a document?
Well, let's see. Offered 500,000 for the full completion of the job. We're looking at essentially, coming up with your project plan and overall guidelines, requirements, etc.
She's just asking for the technical documentation. What that would cost. Of course. All right. Yeah. Just making sure you're not about to riz her up or anything with some crazy number.
No. I was gonna say
we got some project management in here. We're gonna need some onboarding training.
10% total, and we can also offer our services with some follow-up work if you have any questions.
We'll roll in a maintenance contract for additional 2%.
Sorry, how much are you asking for?
10%. I don't know. 10% of the full
50,000. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let me write that down. 50,000 for technical documentation. Okay. She heads back inside with all of you. There's no like second, decontaminating because you've just been in suits that were already in the air, right? It is a little dangerous to go out into space and then come back inside without decontaminating, but these guys don't seem concerned about it.
Right. They're not going to waste the phone.
I see you've picked up on their supply problems.
Right. Well, this is going to be an interesting one. Anything else that we wanted to go over before we start thinking about and making our plan to take a crack at this?
Yeah, like while you guys are getting out of your suits, Yennefer's readjusting her very fine general's hat.
I'm good, Cap.
All right, well.
She leads you back to the conference room, and I think this is where we're going to take our midpoint break.
Perfect.
She'll be back soon. Oh, hello there. It's the second half. Is there anything else you want to do at this meeting, or do we cut to your atmospheric entry on Palamedes?
Yeah, I think we can smash cut to that, right?
I don't think I have anything else for the meeting. I would like to composite the survey data to give the captain of a briefing of the location before we begin the descent as just part of our prepping to go down.
I feel like I want to do it dramatically while you're coming through the atmosphere, though. So you rolled a 10. The first thing I'm going to tell you is that this planet generates a large amount of atmospheric disturbance. Signals from the planet to get off planet are very difficult. There is a single satellite in orbit. It looks like it's a exchange of light monetary satellite, and communications. So like if you needed to call your bank or reach someone off planet, you could do it through that satellite if it was on the right side of the planet at the time. There is non-natural interference on this planet. A 10 is not good enough to determine what location it's coming from, but there is something that is not a naturally occurring interference that is scattered into the atmospheric interference, which has disrupted part of your ability to scan the planet. There are basic communications on planet as well. Nothing like a cell phone network, but it does appear like there are a few transmit receive level, and by a few I mean there are probably a handful on
ham radios.
Yes.
Like a dozen RF simplex circuits going.
Yeah. You also detect things like there's definitely a small fleet of helicopters parked at the capital. There are some ground vehicles, but a lot of the infrastructure appears to be adapting the higher level technology that already existed and repairing it with what materials they have available. Like the place you're headed near, Fishton, has the gas refinery, but it's nowhere near the oil rigs. So it's piped down there and then piped across the planet to the other side of the planet through undersea piping to the capital, where the products are then used and distributed. It's cold. Celsius wise, it's quite cold where you're going to on Mount Zeus. It looks like you're going to avoid the worst part of a storm that's going to be sweeping through the local area. It's going to miss Fishton. It's going to miss Mount Zeus, which is truly impressive given Mount Zeus's size and the size of the storm. But it's going to skirt the edge of your zone. There are 3 frozen human bodies at the site. They have extremely basic 1800s level drilling and dynamite blasting equipment. It looks like they had survival tents of a higher tech level, and those tents did not prevent them from freezing in place overnight while they were sleeping.
Were these locals?
That I don't think you can tell on a scan from one planet to another planet.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, our scanners are quite. We might be able to learn more in atmosphere, but aside from this preliminary information, there is atmospheric interference, but it is intentionally enhanced.
What do you mean by that?
Intentional.
It's not just natural. There is some intentionality to increase the amount of interference in the atmosphere. We can expect that there will be difficulties getting consistent transmissions off-world while we are on the surface.
But didn't they just tell us that they're tech level 1? Does tech level 1 even have that ability to cause that type of interference?
No, absolutely not. Tech level 1 is like clubs.
Yeah.
It is
all sorts of stuff hidden in that ice.
And the people that live there are incapable of creating, managing, or operating any such equipment. But we have to keep in mind that there is, at the very least, a starship down there. It's possible this could be coming from the ship. It could be coming from somewhere else. There may be other interested parties in the world. This may be a relic of a defensive system on the ship. Unfortunately, I can't give you anything more specific than a warning that there is an intentional increase in the atmospheric interference.
I'd be more surprised, but the exchange flight did say that this planet used to be, essentially terraformed, and there were all sorts of stuff potentially here, and that's now just encased in this block of ice. So
whether it's
we'll see what we see. Maybe it's the ship,
intentionally, accidentally.
Yeah. Maybe. Oh gosh, where's getting?
But just
we'll see what we see.
Just to make sure that you understand the environment, we will have difficulties sending and receiving transmissions. It will be largely dependent on the satellite positioning.
All right.
This seems like one of those situations where there's no such thing as too many supplies. So maybe we do stop over at Fishton first, just see what they got.
I think they've got much that we're going to need in comparison to what. I think we can. But we can go. We can check it out. I just, judging by their technology level, I'm not too sure that they'll be able to help us out.
You want to go there first, or you want to drop at the salvage site? See what you're working with.
Van-Vee, you got a feeling that it's worth asking some questions. Let's go ask some questions. Otherwise, I'm inclined to go to the site, see what we see.
Well, with the gear we have, how good are we at cutting, chunking up
like
ice,
ship's locker,
and then having
stuff
that keeps us super warm?
You have a ship's locker. You've got space rate. It's going to be cold, even in your space rated suits. It's going to be cold. Will you freeze overnight in them? Probably.
TBD.
But I assume you're not going to sleep outside in survival tents. You're going to sleep on the ship, which is more than capable of weathering the weather.
Right.
Slicing through the ice, you have a salvaging ship with a salvager arm. You're capable of slicing through space age and better metals. Ice is not going to be an issue for you.
All right, we'll just pull a Wally and do the laser beam thing over and over and over. All right, no, then I guess we don't need Fishstone. I wasn't sure if, like, I know they're Tech 1, but if they'd have, like, some, I don't know, mastered technique that they could use to get through ice, given they live there. But sounds like we'll be anything they got.
Yeah, you did have some interest in maybe conversing with some locals. That's, we'll leave that open for you, too.
Ice. A cold sheet of ice in every direction. A light atmospheric snowfall. Just little pieces of humidity that have made it this high, freezing in place and falling back down. Far above most of the cloud layer, the camera slowly pans around the top of Mount Zeus. You can see for miles in any direction. Fishtin at the edge of the horizon is visible. And just high enough in the atmosphere to get rid of most of the twinkle. There gleams stars without number. Drop stars without numbers. Shipbreakers appears on the screen for the first time because we finally made it to the salvaging job. You have no idea how long I've been waiting for this. 13 episodes, you might say.
The prologue is finally over.
In a way, that's true.
The tutorial.
There is little sound in the crisp air here, but over the gentle sounds of the ice comes the roar of a ship flaming in descent as it enters the atmosphere and sets down nearby with all of the space sounds swoosh as the Golden Goose lands directly next to what is essentially a strip mined so that there's a walkable path, spiraling hole that gets smaller and smaller that leads to the side of a gray flat steel and a small camp set up at one of the edges of it. Your salvaging searchlights, all three of them kick in and begin to slowly work their way around the camp, and the computer settles on like locations that seem relevant. One of the tents, the second tent, the hole. I think we slowly pan to a side shot of the Golden Goose, and we see the cockpit glass where it's comfortably large enough to fit all 5 members of the crew in there. And we could see that at one of the auxiliary consoles is sitting Iono Kanto. She's just going over some basic data, and since she's on the left side, she's the one closest to the camera, and she turns, and then the camera turns with her. We're suddenly behind her looking at the rest of the gathered crew, and she's just working the cameras and just says, so yeah, I don't really know how to work this salvage arm, but we're here, and I got the cameras pointed right.
Nailed it. You're doing a great job, Iono. I appreciate it. And glad to have you on board. An extra pair of hands is always useful.
I'm gonna just triple check the integrity of my suit and get some of my archaeological gear ready. Once you get inside, I might be able to connect to something. See if I can pull any data.
Yeah. That's perfect.
So she kind of dismisses herself from the bridge. Louis is transfixed. I think this might be the first time he's seen snow before. And so he's gone beyond the bridge's front console and has just like pushed his face up so he can see his own reflection, looking out at Mount Zeus in every direction, at snow and ice in the darkness of the night.
And Quentin, Does scritch Louis rear a little bit and say, "Isn't it gorgeous, buddy?"
One of his ears twitches.
Van-Vee, you got the checklist handy? We studied up. We feel like we got the basics ready to go.
Sure thing, sir. Well, I think, MINERVA can cover number 1 and 2 for us pretty quickly to do a quick scan of the ship itself. I think we've kind of already done that, but I guess whenever you want to just, tell us any hazards you may have found on the ship.
Well, not being much closer with the sensors and not dealing with a lot of the atmospheric effects, might be able to get something more specific about the ship itself.
Oh, I thought we were getting closer. Sorry.
You've landed. You're extremely close.
Now that we're closer.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I would like to see if I could run a deep scan through the ice of the wreckage.
No need to. I mean, you're more than powerful enough sensors to do that. You don't get a known classification on this ship. It does appear to be frigate size, but the reason that perhaps the Calenomians thought it was a cruiser is that it is a mandate frigate, which uses. So let me be clear here. Even the old mandate technology books, essentially the cruiser that MINERVA has, right? That isn't a mandate fleet vessel. Those are civilian vessels that were made. Anything that has a spike drive means that it's specifically not part of a mandate Navy fleet, because they're supposed to go through jump drives, essentially jump gates. This vessel has ultra hardened, beyond theoretically calculable elemental level plating. Getting through that will be far more difficult than previously anticipated. I mean, this is not just TL5 tech, it's probably TL 5.5 tech. That said, it is a little unusual in some cases. It does have a spike drive on board, but it almost appears to be located in a secondary location. It is covered in cameras. It has a huge number of visual and other types of sensors around it. And inside it, it has massive data storage, truly incalculably large by modern standards. The ship is over 50% data storage.
It sure looks like a spy situation, some sort of intelligence vessel, gathering of some kind. We are in that quarantine zone. And we don't.
In its mandate era?
Yes, mandate era. It's easily over 600 years old.
Do I recognize the design at all?
No.
Does the spike drive look mandate era itself? Not that I don't know if we would be able to tell, but
oh, sorry. I think the ambient.
I was wondering what that was.
Yeah, my ambient soundtrack wasn't on play 1 and stop. It was on continue for some reason. So
I feel like people are dying around us in this conversation.
No. It's just the ice thing. Should not be playing like this.
It's funny. MINERVA, have you ever heard of any ship that would have 2 spike drives?
I believe it is more likely that this is a secondary propulsion system.
Yeah, it looks like it's just got one. It looks like it might have been added on later, right?
Or it's designed to be there in case of a failure of its psionic jump drive.
Now that you've heard that, Van-Vee, that absolutely sounds correct.
That sounds perfectly makes sense. Yep.
Now, I bring that up. This is an older ship than we may have been originally led to believe. This is much older. This is a mandate era ship.
Wow.
Does that change your feelings about this at all, MINERVA? Kind of remind you of your ship at all, or?
Different design philosophy. Definitely a different shipyard. I'd be lying if I didn't say that it didn't kindle a sad curiosity.
Are you conflicted with the mission now, or are you still good to move forward?
I guess so. But I just want to be clear. I'm not trying to stop your mission, Captain. Given the nature of things, it's changed this job for me, at the very least.
Right. Well, you look. If you need a moment, you take that moment. And if you need to take a step back, you take the step back. You just let us know.
I can say that it is unusual that it has so many different sensory devices on it.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the types of sensors that we need to use for space travel, but it seems to be a bit more specialized in the amount of observation that it has. And the massive data capacity on board is, for one, I might be able to know more once I can get inside. The material of the hull is, well, it's quite advanced. It doesn't necessarily mean that I have a friend aboard, but this may be a courier of some kind, or it may have a very high capacity for data because it is observational in nature.
Mm-hmm. Well,
do we have anything that can cut through this hole?
Said it would be more difficult, but possible.
It will take a long time.
If the ship has crashed, I suspect that the reasons for its crash or the crash itself will have given us opportunities to cross through the hull.
All right, well, maybe let's not go cutting for fun then and just pick the easiest routes.
Oh, absolutely.
At least for an initial assessment to determine if we need to.
Did you detect any signs of power or anything like that, MINERVA?
Are there any?
For that, I will need you to make another scan roll.
Okay.
The ship does not currently have power. That said, you are in luck. A 12 is just enough to notice that the area of hull that has been exposed down to does contain a hidden, camouflaged external power supply that one could connect a cabling into it and get emergency power working on that hull section. Not the whole ship. It's like an emergency technical entrance.
The power cell thing, like the standard one.
The ship itself is not currently powered. Whatever the fusion plant that we may be here to get, or any other sources of power, are currently offline. It does appear that the previous group brought their own emergency power source to be able to provide limited power to their workspace.
The previous group did, or?
It's a guess. I can't be certain, but it's there, and some effort was made to make it difficult to determine that it's there.
This is a part of this ship's design.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's not what I...
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. And it's on right now?
No. We have to connect something to it.
You could connect something to it. It's like...
Right. There's like the porta boxes that you put a power cell in, and it like opens up.
It's a battery on barotrauma.
Yeah.
It's for like if the ship was final, like extreme dramatic damage to the ship. If someone needed to get into it quickly, a technician who knew this type of ship could insert a power cell into it and get some working door open somewhere.
Okay.
Doesn't power the whole ship. It only powers this section of the hull. External panels only.
Quentin hearing that gets excited.
I do believe that I may have a way to power entrance to the ship. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be encrypted for protection. I assume it would be, but power can be applied and a system can be accessed to try to give us access through the hull.
That sounds like the way in, and that sounds like the first step to answering some questions and seeing how deep we need to go into this, MINERVA. Let's go do the thing. Let's go connect that power.
We will need to run power from either a portable source or from the ship.
You'll need a Type B power cell. But because you have a ship's locker, you probably have several available and pre-charged.
Snag the thing. Let's is Iono coming with us? Was that her plan, or was she going to stay on the ship?
No,
I didn't think so. I was going to say,
I didn't detect any life signs on board, right? No wildlife.
That's correct. No life signs.
Okay.
All right. Well, I don't have the most experience doing this thing, but I will say this, that any ship you set foot on to do some salvage, well, it's got a history. There's ghosts, quite literal ones that I've met out there in this universe, but don't be afraid. If you need to take a step back, if you need to take a thought, take a moment, we don't know what we're going to find when we enter this thing, and we know on our way to that entrance we're going to be passing some folks who this was their job. So be respectful, do your best. I know y'all are going to be great. Let's get this thing done.
Hey, Cap, do me a favor. If you see any ghosts or any of your invisible friends, don't tell me.
You got it.
But I think MINERVA found us a front door. Let's go let ourselves in.
Ramp bump and snow flurries.
The three of you in the same exterior hard suits, 2 lights giving a little extra shadow to this strange, almost alien world. As you walk around the circle, making your way down through 12 feet to the hull. MINERVA, you can readily locate the camouflaged supply area. You just push in slightly, kind of like my old car's gas thing. And slightly it pops out and moves aside. And what was previously completely smooth hull reveals itself to be an area with a Type B power supply in it. Fully dead.
Captain, are you prepared?
Swap it out. Let's do it.
I draw my pistol just in case.
Okay.
Give a nod.
Quentin
Reach in and pull out the
his
dead power cell and slide in the fresh one.
telekinetic armory as well.
Okay. Slide in the fresh one.
I'd like to look for some sort of interface in here that I can use.
Okay. The hull panel doesn't appear to have any external interface at this moment.
Did you push it in and twist MINERVA?
Let's see, what can I do?
So Van-Vee, I'm curious, what are you doing specifically?
Well, I assumed there was a door near where this power thing was, and so I was
You're looking for the door?
Yeah.
Okay. You see, as you look for the door, next to this panel, essentially like beneath where you're standing, lights up like an LED strip. Just out of straight steel becomes light, outlining the panel of like a 2-part door that would open.
Oh, at our feet.
Yes. Specifically
Okay.
Van-Vee's feet.
Yeah.
I quickly move aside.
Okay.
MINERVA, I think this is the door, and you just activated it, but it's beneath us.
Try
Below
nothing.
the ice.
How
Is there ice between us and the door?
Nope. No. I mean, you're surrounded by ice around you.
Right.
But no.
It's a bare steel panel.
You are standing on the ship, and it is beneath you. It's under your feet.
I sure do hope there's a ladder or something before we just drop down into it, but I guess I'll just place my hand on the door, see if it opens or something.
You want the door to open?
Assuming no one's standing directly on it, I am checking that.
Yeah. It opens, and you hear in your mind a voice saying, "Welcome, Dr. Y'all Vantis.
It's the
Guest
link, yeah.
access authorized."
You can do stuff that we can't
Wait,
do.
did the lights move when I moved my feet?
No.
Oh, that would have been really
You
cool.
were just lucky to be at the exact space where...
I gotcha. All right, that's creepy. It knows who I am. You guys heard that, right?
What do you mean it knows who you are?
Wait, you didn't hear that?
No.
Well, you're hearing voices.
Man, I thought you two were the weirdos. Shoot.
Quentin is laughing.
Well, I guess it doesn't know exactly who I am. Something just said, "Welcome, y'all," as in my father.
Well, that sure sounds like an ID that's embedded in your head.
You know what? That makes me think this is my ship. We get 100% of it now.
So it should be noted that it appears as if the ship has rolled.
Okay.
So for you, you would need to fall into this hole to reach the other end of the airlock.
Oh, crap. Are there any lights inside now that the door is open? Can we see anything?
No. So again, you've just got like extremely basic technical access to this panel. That's it. That's the only thing that's powered by that power cell.
I would like to do the equivalent of a glow stick and drop it in.
Sure. You drop it in.
Yeah.
It is the familiar look of a 100% mandate compatible external airlock with decontamination process. No surprise, you've seen them 100 times going on and off of ships.
And I don't know how I would actively try to do this, but try to talk back to the voice.
Okay. What are you thinking? What are you talking?
Who am I speaking with?
Diagnostic program online.
Your name is Diagnostic Program?
Are you also saying these outside?
I don't know. I don't know if Van-Vee knows how to just like talk with the link in his head. So he might be like, he probably is saying some of this out loud.
We're hearing one side of a conversation.
Yeah.
Run Diagnostic Program?
Internal power offline.
Turn power on.
Internal power offline.
Can you get the other door open, Van-Vee?
Other door. Sorry,
the inner door.
The inner door to the airlock.
Well, let's give it a shot. Open airlock door.
Internal power offline.
All right. So I have established that power is offline because you guys can't hear the other side.
We understood that on arrival.
How do we turn power online?
You, in your head, get a basic mandate era technical course downloaded into your brain for how to emergency break this door open, transit through the ship to the engineering section, and do extremely basic 101 level diagnosis of a mandate era fusion drive. All of that is downloaded into your head in less than a second.
Whoa.
I know Kung Fu.
What just happened? What else you got? What else can you show me? Tell me how to pilot the ship.
Internal power offline.
You're frustrating. You're like MINERVA. All right. So
I know Minerva's just watching you talk to yourself.
And Van-Vee's just saying this out loud.
You like MINERVA.
Quentin nudges MINERVA with his elbow and says, "I think that's you." Yeah.
All right. So hey guys. So I know where to go. I know how to open this door. I don't know how, but I just learned a lot about this ship. Other than that, it keeps yelling at me power offline, but I think I know how to fix that. So I'm going to go open the door.
Having knowledge and exercising it are two separate things.
More encouragement to go open the door.
Perhaps we should determine if we should restore some power to the ship.
Well, I mean, this ship knows me. I got to find out more. I'm hopping down into the airlock and opening up the next door.
Yeah, so you, by your basic beginner course, know that there is a way it takes a little while to prevent just like pirates getting on the ship and then immediately opening the airlock. But again, in an emergency, if someone needs to get it open, you would need to spend about 60 seconds fooling with like a pump system and like a small bar that needs to be turned under some great force, and then the door that you're basically standing on right now opens and you fall again down sideways into a corridor. You can see that there are posters along every wall here. One of them just says like, it has a picture of like a young Russian Chinese man like looking out towards the sky, and it says Green Cosmo. Another one is like two back-to-back buddy cop partners, but they're wearing like Geordie LaForge goggles, and it says Perimeter Agents at Large, buddy cops. And then the bottom is like smash hit of the summer. So you're basically like looking up at them because they're mounted along the ceiling, or looking down and they're mounted along the floor.
Yeah.
The only light you have is your headlamps and a little bit of light coming from this beam. So you are standing in a illuminated beam of light. As you went in, you were pushed in because the ship had negative pressure. The atmosphere of the planet is zooming into the area, and has disturbed a little bit of dust, and everything has flown away from you, essentially. Just to be clear, I did mention that one of them was Green Cosmo, right?
Oh, of course.
All right, yeah, the other one is Perimeter Agent Buddy Cops.
You almost got me to spit drink up my nose on live stream.
I think Minerva will look down and just step off to land in the hallway next to him.
You drop.
Quentin just appears next to both of you.
Show off.
More and more light. You can see that there are posters for movies and TV series all along here, all inside cases along the walls. There are different colored like paint lines along the floor. Like one is red, one's green, one's yellow, and appear to like, if you follow them, they will lead you to different sections of the ship.
I assume Van-Vee has one of those in mind.
As an experiment, I want to step like 6 feet to the side, like 6 feet further down the wall of this corridor, and I want to see if I can still reach the ship.
Yes, you are still. It does get a little bit more difficult now that you're not directly going out. But yes, you are getting some interference from the exterior hull of the ship. Now that you're inside, it seems like the interior of the ship is not made out of the same super hard, emissive, dampening exterior problems.
If we had it, or if it's a thing that we could do, Quentin would pull out maybe like a transmitter or an extra like repeater and sort of place it at the entrance for communications.
Absolutely. You got a ship's locker. I believe it's called like a comm array or something. You place it there.
There you go.
I mean, when it comes online, you hear Iono in your ear go, looks like your comm array just went online. You guys good?
Looks good so far. We are in. That's just
download map of ship.
Turn the power off.
You getting a video feed? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hook into your suit's video feeds if you want me to. Were you going to send any drones out there as well? I'm just a little worried that three of you are kind of risking your lives and bodies when we have little robots that can do this, right?
Oh, I mean, you're not wrong.
I feel like she just hears in the background Van-Vee arguing with himself and getting frustrated.
Would Minerva have brought a couple along, or
Minerva can bring as many drones as she wants along.
Right? Yeah.
Minerva wouldn't have brought any at the get-go, but would certainly bring some should the need arise or the captain request some.
Van-Vee, you are feeling a slow pull to go to the engineering section coming from the ship. Like now that you've indicated that that's what you want to do, the link in your brain is, it can't make you do it, but it can make you want to do it.
Interesting.
You know, Cap, normally going through the salvaging steps here, next thing we're supposed to do is walk around, mark all hazards, stuff like that, remove the hazards. Because the ship's talking to me, I think we could have the ship do that if I can just get it back online. So I'm just thinking we'll head to engineering first, maybe see if we can get it back online. Maybe I can have a, conversation with it and it can tell me what's going on of any hazards.
If nothing else, engineering is going to have a whole lot of info and connection to everything else we could need. So definitely let's head that way. MINERVA, why don't you get those drones combing the ship, any open corridors that they can get to, see what they see.
Caution.
All right, engineering
against
this way.
This plan.
Oh,
Captain.
All right.
Captain, I would caution against this plan.
What do you think we should do instead?
I don't believe we know enough about the degree of intelligence or the purpose of whatever intelligence is communicating to Van-Vee.
Did scans indicate that there was, an AI interface installed on the ship, or what kind of concern you got?
Well, it's certainly not unheard of to have VI assistance.
Right.
But we don't know what the primary functions are.
Says the AI that was trying to unbreak.
That is absolutely true. MINERVA, I'll say this. If we hadn't gone around poking around your ship when we probably should not have, we wouldn't have found you. So I'm just saying a little adventure could go along. You know what? No, absolutely. Actually, this is a dangerous situation. We do have to approach it with caution, but.
And you do appear, at least, to have the means to communicate with this.
Yeah, and you get like a, former owner, like an owner's, I don't know, like the registration. Who did this belong to? Who was it last flown by?
I feel like wherever the door is that leads this hallway to engineering, Van-Vee's standing in front of it, just looking at you guys, like waiting.
Does he just go and stop waiting?
I don't think the pull is bad enough where he'd leave you guys, but he's totally at the door, waiting to go.
Walked away from them into the darkness. You find bones of someone who has died. It seems as if they are in a pile, like they must have died in some weird position, and then their body decayed. There's nothing holding the bones together, so they just kind of collapsed in place.
Yeah, okay.
So it's not like a skeleton laid out, like they didn't die peacefully lying on the floor or something. This is a mess.
But it looks like it's natural-ish. Like if they were standing and they died, it just fell into a pile. It doesn't look like bones scattered and thrown about.
Yeah, it doesn't look like someone ate them and threw them around.
Yeah, it's okay.
But it is a pile in some way that it would be difficult, if not impossible, to determine how they died from just this.
Is there any
I know you wished for me to be a little bit more open and a little bit more human with you, Van-Vee. So I will give you this insight. When I was first boarded by this crew, my initial assessments were to determine the level of threat that you were and whether or not that threat needed to be purged.
Yeah, but you didn't know us. The ship knows me, which brings up a question. Hey, how do you know me? Ship?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how it would respond. I think what it does is it says link registered, guest list active.
Yes, guess it. Can you add these two here to the guest list?
No administrator privileges found.
What would my password? Try the password YAL.
No administrative privileges found associated with guest Dr. Y'all Vantis.
Well, yeah, you can.
All right. Well, I would just like to establish, and I'm still saying this all out. I would just like to establish that no one here is a threat, including these two. No threats here. We come in peace. Gonna try to see if we can fix you up a bit.
Internal power offline.
All right. Well, I don't think any of that went through. But said something about
Andy,
guest
can you
list
see if it
active.
can give you the ship's registration?
Ship, what is your designation? And what's your registration?
MRNS Edith Skinner. Mid-Atlantic class transit ship. Sorry, transmit ship.
I was going to say it. Okay. I'll repeat that.
Transmit ship.
Skinner.
Is that a type of like data courier type designation that I've heard of before?
You have no idea what a transmit ship is.
Oh my god, MRS. I'm so stupid. I had to type it to see it.
It's MRNS. It's Mandate Registered Naval Ship. Edith Skinner.
NS. I thought you just said MRS Edith Skinner, like literally someone's name, Mrs. Edith Skinner.
I mean, no. Edith Skinner is definitely a name.
Yeah.
But I should be able to recognize that that's a mandate naval ship designation.
Yeah. Not military naval, like civilian naval.
Right. And mandate ships did not have AI on them.
Correct.
Yeah. So I can look to the crew and say, if this is if that intelligence you're speaking to is part of the original fabrication of this ship, mandate ships did not have AI like me. They did use virtual intelligences to aid crews, which does mean that it is both rudimentary and a bit more literal.
That's good for us. And if Van-Vee's got a direct line to it, I mean, that makes things probably a little safer. I hope. It transmit ship. I'm looking around. I'm seeing these posters. These look like movies and pop culture. And was that what this thing did?
In some ways, it will be simpler to deal with, and others it will be more difficult. You don't have a convincing argument with a VI. It has a specific list of programs and protocols.
Are you a VI? MRNS Edith Skinner? Yeah, you VI. Do you know what that is?
I mean, you get an image rather than a direct text response. You come to understand that what you're talking to is not a virtual intelligence, and it's not the ship's central computer. It is purely a tech assistant. It is like the doorbell.
That'll save a lot more questions.
Well, Minerva, does that give you a little bit more comfort with us maybe flicking the power switch, or what do you want to do?
I just counsel caution. I'm not trying to stop this course of action. I believe we should be very cautious about it, and I don't recommend that we restore functions of a ship we don't understand the function of.
Well, maybe we can just control, what parts of the power we turn back on as I'm opening the door to engineer or the next door out.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you have the restraint to do so?
Well, I don't think I may have the technical know-how to how to do it without your help, so I'm hoping we can do it together.
My question still stands. Do you think you have the restraint to stop yourself from a full power-up?
Yeah, but I was answering like Kyle and dodging the question.
Yeah, I mean, Minerva calls out the answer. You seem very fixated on restoring power, more so than you are on most other tasks you perform.
Well, I am just well. That makes me sound lazy, but I am just trying to, I got that letter not too long ago from a message from my father saying don't go back. Now I found a ship where whatever this dust thing in my brain, then I got this link. I keep getting more answers about myself. I want to know more. I mean, you want to know more about yourself, don't you, Minerva? You can understand that.
I do. Let's just try to do so safely.
Yeah, I mean, you hold me accountable the same way I hold you accountable about my privacy.
Yeah, I think you do get a laugh out of Minerva.
Yeah, 13 episodes, got one.
Let's have everyone make a strength exert check real quick, because things that would normally be Y-shaped corridors you'd walk through are now Castlevania-style drop-downs for you. You have to negotiate the ship sideways in a way it was not designed to be moved.
Exert. Okay.
Yep.
is not going to go well.
Minerva is doing
I'm
well.
not great at this.
One is horrible. One is absolutely
Can Quentin
terrible.
be teleporting?
You can tell.
Instead?
I feel like you fall and you teleport to keep yourself
That's
from
your
dying.
second
Yeah.
double ones.
I know I'm doing terribly.
Vandorn, you take 2 points of damage while making your way through the ship, and you do damage the integrity of your suit to a slightly worrying degree. It's not torn yet, but the exterior is fraying, and the suit is like, seek repairs next time you're in a docking area.
What's the ambient temperature inside the ship?
Negative 110 degrees Celsius.
Okay, never mind.
It also took 13 episodes for me to take some damage.
Don't worry, you just got to fall like 80 more times.
I'm going to die in this ship just trying to walk around to engineering. And not from the damage of the ship, but from my suit getting beaten up because I'm too clumsy.
I have rolled twice this episode, and both of them were double ones.
I know, that is impressive. If James were here, you'd say that's a 1 in blah, 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 blah.
It's minus 110 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's right at the temperature where carbon dioxide would become solid. So if you were to take your helmets off, you would be barfing out your breath.
Okay.
Quentin would have activated pressure field at this point for sure. That protects well into this.
Just in case something, his suit is more compromised.
Yeah, exactly.
I would like to use my split focus to do something while we're navigating these hallways.
Sure.
30 seconds.
I would like to take a 30-second video clip of a conversation that I've had with the captain just on the ship.
Sure.
And I would like to write an external program that's function is to try to acquire that file from me.
You want to attack yourself?
I do.
Okay. I would like you to start by making a mental saving throw and then a programming check.
Is this the best spot to do this?
Well, it's happening on the ship.
He's desperate to get his secondary goal in as we get close to the end of the night. You got to appreciate the hustle. Okay, success. That's your 3rd out of 4th.
And then write the program?
Yep. In programming. Okay.
I hate that I can't tell what you're doing.
You absolutely defend against yourself quite easily. You write an external program, but there's no way something less than a virtual intelligence could ever hope to compete with you. Even using split focus, your split focus isn't an AI, right?
Right. I think Minerva is just trying to find a way to test, because when we were in the transhuman interface, a non-AI was able to access some coding information.
Correct.
So this is an attempt to have this software just running the whole time trying to penetrate to see if Minerva can find that weakness.
Laughable, the external attempts. Like, the thing is, you already know how you've programmed this thing to penetrate you. So it's literally like the Matrix. You're just like, you just block every attempt as it comes in. You're like, oh, so slow, so lazy.
Yeah, every attack I can think of, you thought of it.
You told it to think of these things. So you even try to build a randomizer in, and you're like, well, I already know the key to that randomizer.
We're gonna play checkers, except I'm gonna play chess. I go first.
Qubits.
Okay. I'll keep an eye on Van-Vee's biological signals, especially with the damage to the suit and his obsession over turning the power on. I want to make sure I'm monitoring him.
I think that you are noticing unusual for a human elevated brainwave activity, for sure. His suit is probably slightly concerned for him.
Okay.
You make your way through the ship, finding more dead bodies piled, more posters.
Each time Quentin makes a note with Iono and has her record, like some location, etc., and
less than 10 so far. You make your way to the back of this frigate, this transmit ship, and open the engineering section. The fusion drive here is just, it's blown. In fact, it almost certainly seems like it's repairable, but it's probably also the cause of the crash of the ship. Someone took a fire axe that's still embedded in about half the power cables to it, and probably that loss of power caused the crash. Just like not knowing externally what happened with no sensor logs, you're guessing the fact that someone cut power to over half the ship was probably a huge part of the crash.
Jeez.
Trying to figure out how much Van-Vee would react to that. If he's just like, wow, that like normal, that's not good, or is he just still focused on?
That said, it's mounted on what was the floor, so it's now the left wall for you. There are like 6 bodies beneath you on what would have been the when you entered, it would have been the right-hand wall, but is now the floor. It looks like there were a lot of people clustered in this one location when the ship crashed.
I would like to examine the pile of bones for any inorganic components.
Now, it is quite a drop down there, because this is not a corridor. This is an actual room that was, wide, so now it is a long fall.
How big?
Probably like 30 or 40 foot fall.
Okay. 30 or 40
now,
feet.
You have a ship's locker. You could easily say you have some ladders or rope and pitons. Not a problem for Quentin, of course. I just want to make it clear that it's not easy to get down there, but it is doable. If you want to get to
Quentin
that power
has an extendable rod and rope. He is I'm putting that in, tying some rope.
Okay.
We have the drones we can use to get anything we didn't think about.
You're just trying to confirm all the femurs are the exact same length.
So
that's not a bad idea, actually.
The spike drive is mounted on what would have been the left wall, so now it's mounted on the ceiling. It's super unusual. Normally the spike drive would be mounted in the floor, dead center. Instead, it's basically on the back left-hand side of the room, close to the engine cluster. The fusion drive is located about 10 feet ahead of you on what is the wall, but what would have been the floor. You see, you've got 2 or more sets of lights on it. You probably could get this working with several hours of work. Much easier would be tying a Type B power cell to it and getting several minutes of power for the ship. That said, you're going to need to replace the damaged cabling if you want to get full functionality back.
Several minutes of power seems a lot safer.
Minerva, I guess I could use your help here to... I'm not familiar with this type of ship at all. I'd like to see what else is on this ship I might be able to talk to, but perhaps at a lower risk to all of us. If you could help me identify perhaps what power we should be routing and those that we should leave disconnected.
Are you able to request from the voice where the data cores are, where access to the data cores are?
You are too far away to connect to the link.
Oh, right.
Well,
It's just back at the panel.
I haven't actually heard from the ship in some time. I actually think it was just back at that door specifically.
Understandable design feature. Do you still feel
that makes sense to you?
Are you still very... Do you still feel the same level of motivation to restore power? Or are you feeling a little more cautious than you were earlier?
You still feel the press of the memories from the link. You asked it to tell you how to turn the power on, and it wants you to turn the power on.
I want answers. I want to know. I want to know what else the ship knows. And I gotta be honest, the fact that I was able to download data kind of like this, that felt nice. You feel like that all the time, I'm sure. Like you everything's at your fingertips. I kind of want more. I know it sounds power hungry, but I want answers too. I want to know what this ship is, how it knows my dad or me, I suppose, how it got here. How does it relate to my story? I want power on.
I see.
Minerva pulls out a gun.
If we want to try to come to answers as to how we could have a limited power up of certain systems, Captain, I believe we will need to go down there and see what we can learn about the power grid.
I think that's the right move. This is what we're here for. We're going to make some progress one way or the other. We want to do it in the, safest way possible, certainly. Sounds like we can maybe get a short burst of power. And Minerva, maybe if we can find an access port where we can access some data, you can pull data in that time frame. And shoot, if we've got that power jury rigged up, we can go ahead and rip it out if we need to, if some emergency starts to roll through. Does that make sense? Look around. Let's see if we can find any sort of data port that you can get ready to.
You absolutely can find a place to both plug in communications equipment to and power, but you are out of type B cells. So you're going to have to go back to the ship to grab one.
Okay. Quentin can just pop it there and back.
When you get back, Iono is saying something to you in your ear, and you can also hear her further. Like, ship's armory is located, and ship's locker is located like midships, so you can hear her talking from the bridge, and she says, "No one's responding. Can anyone hear me?
Hey, Iono, what's up?
I think you should come to the bridge. You're gonna want to see this."
Oh, shit. And there he's on his way.
You make your way to the bridge, and
he's just there.
Yeah, okay.
I'm still aware of the ship, right?
Yes, to some extent. He is looking out at the horizon. It looks like that storm has shifted, but more importantly, you see like very distantly Fishton on the horizon. There is a enormous flaming cloud over it. And you're getting like a very faint radio transmissions.
Quentin picks those up immediately,
Can anyone hear this? We need help. Hello? And you hear someone in the background go, "Okay, get off the equipment." And someone, you briefly hear the transmit go off and then back on again and say, "This is Dr. Fish calling from Fishtown. I'm requesting help from the capital. There's been an accident at the factory. We only have beds for 92 patients. There are over 1,000 people incoming to this location. We need emergency medical help from anyone that is listening. Can anyone hear me at all?" And you hear someone come on and just say, "Sorry, transport helicopter coming out of the Capitol. There's a blizzard in the way. The old eyes right there. It's going to be at least 13 hours before I have a clear shot. I'll try to get word to the Capitol for you, Doctor." In the background of the transmits you're getting from Dr. Fish, it sounds like an absolute fucking shit show going down from wherever she's calling from.
Quentin answers, if, he can. And Dr. Fish, this is Quentin, Captain Quentin Alexander Polk the Fourth. I'm nearby. We will be there as soon as we can.
What sort of help can we expect from you, Mr. Polk?
We have some medical facilities and supplies. We will give what we can and do everything that we have within our power. We can at least provide a little bit of shelter and power to facilities you may,
You're a spacey captain?
We'll see what we can do. Yes, sir. We have a ship.
Okay. It's a woman, by the way.
No. There we go.
If you can get us an updated ETA, we can use any assistance that you can give us immediately.
And Quentin turns to Iono and says, "Start." How far is it going to take us to get there? He's assumes she's at like a map or something.
Yeah. So at this point, Minerva, your
break in,
brain on the ship is catching up with all of this, right? Like you are present for like the call and all of that, but the flaming ball on the horizon was a purely visual aspect that only Iono could have seen.
I think on like a screen somewhere near the captain's face, I'll pull up like a projected flight plan to get there with an ETA.
It would be 2 hours normally to move to a nearby location on the planet, but Van-Vee, as a pilot, can attempt to make a fast run at 1 hour. It will require a piloting roll, however.
All right. With any luck, we're about an hour out, and we're going to set off ASAP as soon as we can.
Just sit down somewhere in the parking lot, Captain. Thank you so much.
And
then she goes back to calling for help.
Immediately next to Van-Vee and Minerva. The whatever he was, if he was holding something in the bridge, it just clatters to the floor, and then Quentin and Minerva and Van-Vee all appear back in the bridge with Iono.
You have the PowerPoints to pull this off?
I can do that. Let's see. I used 1 to get to the ship.
Yeah.
1 to get back. And
you
then
also used 1 to teleport down into the ship originally.
As long as it's only 10 meters, I can do it for free.
Okay. Yes. All right.
10 meters is free. And so I'm at 4 used and I have 7 total.
Good. We're going to need to keep track of that for the next episode.
Good.
Wait, did you teleport Van-Vee back without asking him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I didn't even. Yeah.
The 3 of you are now standing on the bridge looking at a expanding ball of flame that appears to you're a good 60 miles away. Whatever that factory had is gone now. Like, the factory is the center point of a column of fire rising 10, 12 miles into the sky. It appears to be also raining fire and shrapnel in every direction over the town of Fishton.
Yeah, I think Minerva wasn't necessarily expecting the teleport, but the teleport isn't necessarily surprising or disorienting. Like, this makes sense.
You think slightly faster than a human, so you would have noticed the absence of Quentin and then his arrival. You know what
all
I mean?
within like half a second.
Yeah.
So I think as soon as we're back, like, Minerva just like gives a nod and then just like moves to do shit on the ship so that it's ready to go.
Van-Vee, I'm going to need a piloting roll for you to pilot through the edge of a flaming storm at high speed.
I almost want to say,
Is he pissed at the captain?
Yeah. Like, you just took him away from the thing pulling him, and now he's like, well, I didn't agree. I mean, this is the right thing to do, but I didn't agree to this. Like, we were finally doing. A part of me wanted to make like some sort of save to say how I reacted, but that might be too extreme.
If you're unwilling, you don't go.
You can punch him. Like,
it doesn't even require punching. Just if you're not a willing target, you can't come.
Does the
That's true. That's true. If you don't want to teleport, actually, you wouldn't have to come.
Well, I think it's almost better if you didn't tell me, because then I don't get to resist, right? But
that's fair.
Because
what?
Yeah, but does the pull subside at all on the ship? On the Goose?
Yeah. Now that you've clearly moved away from the location, the link has fully been cut, and you'd like to go back and get it done at some point, but it's not like an imperative.
I gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense with what I was thinking too. So I think the first 5 seconds, you're going to see like a wave of emotions over Van-Vee's face. Kind of like, you didn't even, how did, and then he'll see the smoke and the fireball and the shrapnel, and he'll kind of be like, whoa, yeah, we gotta go help them, but
we have lives to save.
Right. We're coming back. He's like getting this through his head, convincing himself as he gets into the chair.
Van-Vee is temporarily a hyper-focused ADHD individual.
Pilot is Dex, I think.
Yes, in this case, it will be Dex.
To use the thing that the roll 3 keep 2 thing, is that just changing the dice pool to 3d6?
Yeah.
Okay, it just does that automatically.
Oof.
Okay, you absolutely
crushed it.
Pilot in such a way that you deal no damage to the ship and get there within 1 hour.
He locked it back in. That's Vandorn coming through.
I think that I'll describe the vision of hell that you encounter at the beginning of the next episode. I said last episode that this was going to be a really brutal one. We didn't get far enough to get to the brutal part. Next episode is absolutely a massive content warning for ecological disaster plus hospital full of burn victims. So it may be an episode to skip if you're not down for that. It's going to be dark, guys. It's going to be real dark.
I know. I of all the episodes we've had, I really want this one to keep going.
I know.
I really want to know what else is going on in the ship.
It's too bad. It's going to be 3 weeks to the next episode. Then.
I know. There's so much good stuff here.
3? Oh,
yeah, because no Ludemann for the next 2 weeks, right?
No, just next Monday is when I'm out. Yeah, right. I'm out next week. Essentially, that's where I'm out.
What's on the 15th?
All sorts of social nonsense.
2 weeks. I'm sorry, Dunamis.
Come on now.
Right, I'll take it out on the Blood Bowl.
I just want all the answers. I want to flip all the cards, show it all.
Take it out on the Blood Bowl pitch. The son of a bitch.
Yeah, Quentin just like stole you, Van-Vee. That's
honestly the way you did it was probably perfect because I was thinking about it and I was like, well, how pissed will he be? Because I don't know if he still has the pull versus if you told him, hey, we got to go, absolutely resisting it. Right.
Yeah, it was just a knee-jerk reaction as far as,
I was even thinking earlier too, like if Minerva disagreed to like help diagnose and figure out where to connect power, and it's like, no, we shouldn't do this at all. I was intentionally going to look for a way to like sneak back in by myself and just connect the whole thing.
At first, Minerva was going to be very against the idea of turning the thing on at all until we'd done a survey of the ship, but you did appeal to Minerva's search for answers.
I do have talk plus 2, and every now and then I try to work it into my characters as opposed to just being an idiot.
Let's talk XP.
Sure.
Van-Vee, you get 1 for Find Your Mother.
Yeah.
And Quentin, you get 1 for Get Everybody Through the Salvage Job. I'm gonna just give you 1, Minerva, for Evaluate Myself as a Security Risk. If I could give you a Ghost Bear partial victory on that, I would. If that was the thing, I would. Everyone will also get 1 for Break a Ship, and you will also get an additional point for answering the distress call. This isn't the first time you've done something humanitarian at the cost of what you're currently doing, and every time you've done that, I've given you an XP point.
Nice.
That said, you're going to get roasted next episode for sure, Quentin.
Yeah, this feels intense. Oh, question. So on the effort front, what is a scene?
We're entering a new scene now.
Okay. Because that is all the effort I used was scene based.
Okay. You're good then.
Okay.
Some of them require you to commit, for the day.
Right.
Take a long rest.
Well, how are we feeling about this episode so far? I just want to say McClay 8. I'm going to go ahead and take that victory lap real quick. We did it. We got into a ship that we were salvaging, and we almost restored power to it. It is, however, still under 12 or more feet of ice, so getting it up and out will be excessively difficult. But they don't need to get everything out. We did
Van-Vee is seriously thinking if this ship responds to him when he turns it on, he can convince himself that it's actually his ship and wants to totally break the contract.
I want to be clear here that you have guest access. So someone has added you to a list of people that are allowed to be on this ship, but you are neither passenger nor crew.
I get that. You just clarified something for me, which is that it's not so much that it just read his identity. He is technically a guest. The Y'all Vantis that might have existed might actually have physically visited this ship.
No comment. There's still some more to piece together, but you'll get it eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole pile of genetic Y'all Vantises that could have been guests on this ship. So Minerva went. Every time we do something else, Minerva has more and more reservations about this job. By the time we get back to it, Minerva's going to be almost ready to check out of this job. Like, maybe we shouldn't.
Captain, please refund the 20,000 fronted credits.
Just to be clear, it's going to cost you a lot more than that to break this contract. You not only accepted
that's our reputation with the exchange of light.
The exchange of light. They're gonna sue you for recovered losses.
It's bad.
The ship is already open, so at this point, anyone can go inside it now.
Yeah, I think oh shoot, yeah, because you teleported out. We didn't shut the door.
Mm-hmm.
That's accurate.
It's gonna get real cold in there.
That's a problem.
Well, it was already cold outside. You know, we were fine.
Yeah, that was something I thought about with like the drones and whatnot. I don't know if we wanted to, because I know that we were using the drones to ferry us equipment as we needed it.
Mm-hmm.
So whether or not any drones got left behind,
I think probably they did.
Them.
They're just in standby mode, just floating in space right now. You know, just hanging there, waiting for someone to come back and give them orders.
I can still reach them to give orders to them, so I can at least have them like close the door.
Yeah.
They're gonna
have them hold
just to be
the
clear,
door.
they are gonna get cold.
That's true.
Mother, it's cold. My circuits are slowing down.
Help. You've been replaced.
Oh my god, little portal turrets. Hello?
Are you still there?
Are you there?
No, they are trapped inside the ship, freezing cold. I think what's interesting to me is that you completely ignored and did not go to the survival tents and have not given any acknowledgement to the dead team or any of their equipment.
Oh, I thought I did. Like
Oh, my apologies. I didn't catch that part. No, like they're still, from my point of view, they're still sealed in their survival tents.
Okay. I didn't go specifically to the tents, but I did mention them and at least like specify folks have lost their lives.
They died in the tents. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You're gonna have to go back there and open those bad boys up and get them out. They had notes and such that you could have read, but there was a lot of chances to get exposition in this episode that you guys just Heismaned out of the way.
I'm going in.
I had a ship to talk to me, and then I knew Kung Fu. I mean, Van-Vee was on a mission.
That's true. I wanted to make sure we got in the thing. That was
I even made it a point earlier to say, "Oh, we can tell they've got like dynamite and stuff. We should go get that just in case." Nope, totally forgot.
So many details.
I was totally not expecting the link to suddenly activate, and then when the lights were directly below Van-Vee's feet, I was like, "Oh, wait, do the lights follow me? That'd be weird."
How many lights do you see?
Yeah.
There are 3 lights.
Okay, calm down there, Picard.
Yeah, again, we're on a job, and MINERVA is increasingly thinking that we did a terrible job at picking jobs.
Yeah, maybe, but I'll throw this out there. We're helping people.
Right now, yeah.
Better than stealing the pen from off the guy.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Which, if you think about it, that was 2 of the 4 jobs. So that maybe we just picked the worst 2? I don't know.
You picked the 2 that the audience wanted you to pick.
That's basically true. Yeah. One of them was to deliver somebody back to Lita, and the other was, I forget, man. But...
one was to...
a trade goods private security contract.
No, it was, private security contract to a private matter reclaiming property from unwanted guests.
Transporting
See, to me, that sounded
Lawrence.
like the diciest of the jobs, but...
I mean, I'll just let you know right now, it was fighting pirates, so...
Yeah, I mean, that one was $50,000, so we weren't equipped for that, I don't think. Although then again, with our shooting history, 1 shot, 1 kill.
I was going to say, you've had 100% kill rates so far.
Yeah. I still have that
for sure.
That A battery cell with only 2 missing chunks.
I mean, I feel like at this point, you've probably recharged it in the ship several times.
No, that's his lucky one. He carries it with him.
It's a badge of honor now.
It's a rechargeable battery. You just remove it and you plug it into the ship for like 10 minutes and you plug it back into the gun.
Whatever, you know where those
white
2
stick figures on it?
You know where those 2 missing cells went? Oh yeah, that's right.
Wow. Well, those are A cells, not B cells. B cells are used to like power houses. A cells are like power equipment.
Apparently, there is a way that one of the things that I can buy as an optional program to run lets me use my armature as a power source.
Mm-hmm. That's because you have the quantum thing, and it acts as a battery.
No,
you generate power as a soul box. So
a soul box.
Nice.
What it is.
Yeah, that's a very reasonable description.
Rereading those original 4 quests, I think the first one, Miss Abigail Lawrence Longshadow, she could have been our Iono. Because it says winter break is over, returning to college life.
Well, she's going back to Lita.
Yeah, I mean, do you think we actually would have made it there? I think
you don't have to be psychic to go to the university in Lita.
That's true.
And
it
even
is
if she
just
was
a general educational.
Also mentioning
Quentin taught gen ed classes.
Taking that job would have been the fast track to blowing Minerva's cover.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's just go to a planet with telepaths all over it.
Yeah.
Why not?
Exactly. He warned you. You said you wanted to meet the family, and he said, well.
I feel much better about actually being on the salvage job now that we're much higher level than if we win immediately.
Yeah. I mean, who knows what's going down?
I mean, falling down and taking 2 damage in the hallway would have been like a quarter of my health.
At level 1, 100%. That's like
okay, guys, it's time to pull out for medical care.
Van-Vee's unconscious.
Too funny.
All right. Any closing thoughts before we wrap this bad boy up?
MINERVA.
See you in 2 weeks with Dr. Leslie Fish and problems with
Dr. Fish.
I did love how you responded, said, "Hey, Dr. Fish, this is Dr. Doctor."
Now Minerva's going to have to ramp up penetration testing against itself.
Well, if we get my AI friend online, then they can do that for you.
Your AI? Who do you think this AI friend is? Where is your AI friend in the room? Can you point to it? I want to be really clear. The link is not an artificial intelligence. It's like a rudimentary computer interface system for your brain.
I feel like Van-Vee has made it clear that he feels that all artificial intelligence is
any computer that talks is on Minerva's level.
Anything that doesn't have a biological body is suspect.
Van-Vee is definitely someone who's like,
that's really reasonable, actually, in this.
Very much so.
He's the only normal one here. Everyone else is brainwashed.
That's Van-Vee.
Oh my god!
Show me on the doll what the computers did to you.
Is the computer with us right now? Is it telling you to harm anyone?
Van-Vee's looking at the doll. How do I say rejected insurance claim repeatedly?
The link that was more dangerous than the dust.
I mean, that's basically the conversation Minerva was having with him, was just like assessing, like, is the voice in your head, are you more or less motivated right now? Are you feeling a little more cautious? Is the computer telling you this needs to happen now?
Of course, then, it's Minerva. Do you feel the claws in your brain, or
things we don't know about yet?
Yeah, right.
I mean, the captain got a little bit of a preview of what was on in Minerva's mind.
Instead, all I have to do is relate to how you invade my privacy, but we got a chuckle.
Yeah, we didn't get to touch at all on Minerva essentially witnessing the captain interacting with what she could interpret as a demon. And
you've made no effort up to this point to worship this false idol. So
that's true. And he didn't. He said worship, respect, or offering. I believe there were a few
to make a plinth and offer it meat.
Yes.
Burn meat.
Yeah, as far as Minerva's concerned, that is, as much as you might want to have a conversation with Minerva about semantics, that's worshiping a false idol. So,
Completely fair.
but you haven't done it yet.
Not yet.
MINERVA thinks that you've made a good choice
All right.
in not doing it.
My last comment, because I am smug as hell, and sometimes I foreshadow, and I'm so subtle, people don't pick up on it. I want to point out that the XP point I gave Van-Vee today was not for finding out what y'all is trying to do. It was for finding his mother. Take from that what you will. We'll see you in 2 weeks, guys. Have a good time zone. McClay!